don't even know how to start this one. I have no idea. I hope your dogs like Melon, because we have the brand new Knocked Loose record being reviewed by Fantano. Also, did you know that 74% of you aren't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button down below. What do you hate things? Have fun! Now, I like watching Fantano's reviews. He's funny. He's entertaining. I don't really agree with much of his metal reviews specifically. However, I am always entertained, and I always think it's a good watch. So I'm excited to watch how he decimates Knocked Loose or not. But yeah, he actually did a review on Knocked Loose. And again, I just reviewed Knocked Loose. I love the record. I think it was amazing, fun. It was pissed. It had evolutionary elements in the sense of like, it felt like the band was evolving more with like the horror, hardcore thing and the production. It's a great record. Great listen from start to finish. And Fantano, with this face here, seems a little happy or pissed or both. Let's see what we got. Wow, didn't expect that noise right away.
Knocked Loose, a respectably heavy band from Louisville, Kentucky, that has been at it for over a decade now. And while their two previous records up until this point certainly kicked ass, I wouldn't say either of them brought a sound that was specific enough to where they stood out in the very dense and saturated world of metalcore.
Fair. True. Homie knows about the core life.
2021 EP, A Tear in the Fabric of Life, the band did begin to get more creative with tension, grooves, sounds, and sound effects that they surrounded their pummeling breakdowns with. But simultaneously on this record, Knocked Loose is very clearly fully engaged in the broad, global, loud rock arms race to generate the most blaring and punishing sound possible on an album. Yep. And right now, with this record, I would say it is Knocked Loose that is pulling out to the front.
Yo, let's go. Yo, when you get the approval from Fantano, damn, dude. Okay, let's go, dude.
I've heard my fair share of metalcore over the years, and I truly believe this record here is honestly pushing the envelope for the genre a little bit, which is pretty surprising because I didn't think anything was ever really going to top something like Kurt Ballou production. And I can honestly see how all of that is coalescing on this album, because again, the low end in the mixes on this thing are incredible. And the attention to detail on the editing side too, to make sure every drum hit and every chug in the guitars on the breakdown, like it just hits with maximum impact.
Dude, the guitars sound like explosions, like straight the fuck up. I did a cover that's going with Will, where literally I layered explosion sounds with the chugs because I'm like, I guess that's how you do the sound. And it worked, and it scared me because it worked. It just sounds like explosions.
But yeah, even though in many ways this record is assembled pretty methodically, it still grooves very organically. Overproduced or overworked are not terms I would use to describe this record at all. And on top of that,
because there's a lot of production in this record. Like, it's, again, they're not, Knocked Loose isn't like a crazy production band. You know, they go up there, they have the drums, the rah-rahs, the guitars, the bass, and they smash you in your fucking face. Like, especially this record, like, you can hear a good amount of, like, stuff that you're like, oh, that's got to go on, like, the laptop and, like, be added, right, during the live set. But, yeah, it's fair. Yeah, it's not like they rely on the production. The production kind of just enhances what's already there. But the production,
Knocked Loose is going the extra mile on these tracks to experiment more with different grooves, sound effects, eerie little sounds and guitar parts to just make their breakdowns and make their transitions and their buildups that much more harrowing and eerie, bringing more depth to these explosive and aggressive tracks. A more meat and potatoes metalcore album of this style would have been a lot more forgiving. Then on the following Piece by Piece, we are in full breakdown mode. We really catch the full range and punch of the drums with them playing at a reasonable pace. The sustain on that snare is massive. When it gets whacked, you really hear it like ring out for a bit. It sounds
trash can snare, bro.
Sounds like an industrial oil drum being beaten to pieces with a pool cue. The guitars sound like heavy machinery being crushed by a chorus of hydraulic presses. Meanwhile, frontman Brian Garris's vocals are just relentless throat-shredding screams that are done in this kind of higher register, very nasally timbre too. Not concerned at all in delivering in more of a deep and guttural style, which honestly I think makes his lyrics more intelligible and his performances a lot more animalistic and varied.
That's true, because I mean, look, people complain about Brian's vocals and all of that. And I talking with him too, like, it makes sense because like Knocked Loose with a deathcore vocals, I feel like it gets, that's a good pause, like it would get lost. His vocal style, his vocal tonality, I think a lot of people underappreciate how much it adds to the Knocked Loose formula.
And from here, the band expands the sonic palette of the record a little bit with guest vocalist Poppy on Suffocate, whose input brings a lot to the record, especially during that creepy little spoken word passage where she really manages to sear the lyrics of the track.
I wasn't sure if Fantano would like the Poppy feature because, you know, it's I don't know if he's a big fan of Poppy either. But that's cool. Yeah, I that's one of my favorite tracks is the Poppy feature because they just sound like brother and sister.
The seething bitterness and hatred and need for separation expressed in the lyrics on this track is reinforced on the following Don't Reach For Me, whose opening bars stuck with me quite a bit. I dream of a cleansing wave, reborn, don't reach for me, no lies can spread from a tongue removed. And I love the way these lyrics expand.
That's the thing too, Fantano does a lot more on lyrics. Like I straight up, and sorry to all the vocalists, I'm listening a lot more to the music and like the production and the instrumentation and the vocal delivery and the tonalities. The lyrics are also obviously important and add a whole new layer. And a lot of people listen to lyrics. I just don't listen as much. But yeah, Fantano obviously delves more into that.
The progression of the track is great. There is a push and pull to each section, tension and release, which the band is so skilled at pulling off at this point. It's really an essential part of this record because it keeps the songs from getting stale, despite many of them being so loud from front to back, so relentless.
Yeah, everything is so heavy and pounding, but they're so good at building their that anxiety-inducing uncomfortableness and knowing when to be like, all right, like we're gonna go in. Like they know where to put the breakdowns. It's weird because the whole record sounds like nonstop breakdowns and heaviness, but it's more dynamic, like in terms of the spacing and them how they build things up.
And it's now that I would like to point out that it's not just the flow of these tracks that is great, but the album overall, because it's varied enough to where it feels like I'm not just listening to one single sound or song or idea play out again and again and again, but it moves so tightly from track to track, from moment to moment. It's as if I'm not experiencing an album of single songs or anything like that. It's like some kind of metalcore, beat down hardcore suite with various movements all working in tandem, with the way the finish of Don't Reach For Me has this breakneck transition into the much faster Moss Covers All, and then the way the eerie little guitar arpeggio that finishes that track off transitions into Take Me Home, which ends off with this slowly intensifying anxiety-inducing
cool
wall of screaming guitars and feedback. And the final moments of this record, in my opinion, keep things interesting too. The chemistry between Brian and Chris Motionless on Slaughterhouse 2 definitely turns up the heat on the vocal end. There are some ghoulish, oozing, drippy, dissonant string bits laced into the guitars on the back end.
Damn, homie was about the slaughter. I saw some people were a little disappointed with Slaughterhouse 2 too. I really liked it. I thought it delivered on like Kind of Wanted Creatures and Knocked Loose, and Fantano's about it.
It kind of feels like the band is veering into a dark, almost gothic, kind of blasphemous metal direction than just straight up metalcore, which is kind of confirmed on The Calm That Keeps You Awake. With the closing track on the LP, the band really saves some of the slowest and heaviest and most dramatic moments for last. The whole thing really does sound like a movie soundtrack once again, and the riffs that end the record really feel like a dismal march into oblivion. And while I do think there are some finer details that are just so loud, so fast, and so aggressive, they kind of fly by you whether you want them to or not. I still walked away from this record massively impressed with how it was engineered compositionally, sonically, and even conceptually, as the sound of this record, again, in my opinion, by metalcore standards especially, is just incredible. Not only are the
Fantano he usually is not a fan of a lot of the new metalcore stuff. I know that.
And while it may have been cooler to hear some more dynamics and variation across the LP, 27 minutes is also kind of a very ideal length for this sort of thing, so that it doesn't overstay its welcome either. So yeah, that's this incredible, badass, thoughtful, boundary-pushing album that I'm really impressed with.
Thoughtful, boundary-pushing album. Holy This is the nicest thing I've ever heard Fantano say ever.
I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 9 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best.
We
What
are
should
in
I
the
review next?
We are in the bizarro world, dude. Fantano is about it. All right, now do the Ronald review. I don't think I need to. I saw enough tweets to know that that dude is not happy with the results of that review, so it's all good. Yeah, Sleep Token a 2, Avenged Sevenfold a not good, and Knocked Loose a fucking 9, bro. Damn, man. Is this a real life right here? Honestly, but guys, Knocked Loose's new record's amazing. It's fucking amazing. I was tougher on the record than Fantano was. Like, Fantano really just was like, he kind of wished it could be a little more dynamic. That was really it. I was like, this record's amazing, but the second song is a little kind of repetitive or like redundant, and there's nothing really special about it. But everything else is amazing. I was harder on the record than Fantano was. What the fuck? That's not something I expected. Master, and to expect him to go harder into it? Well, yeah, especially for how hyped the album is. I expected him to kind of just like tear it apart a bit more. Dude, Arf mother. Let's go. Does this mean you hate metalcore now? Let's fucking go, man. Yo, Fantano's. I'm glad Fantano liked it. I think it's an amazing record. It's just a big banger. I just didn't expect it. Knocked Loose, bro. Let's go. I'm happy. The world is healing. The world of metal is healing, guys.